Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's live stream. I'll get out of that view so everyone can see the inside of the aircraft and not hear the loud sound of the engines. I've been doing a couple live streams over the last few nights to test the audio and the visuals so that I can start creating some tutorials, and by golly, I think I have it down packed. So I think I have everything I need. I think the audio levels are good. The graphics are good, and best of all, I just figured out how to land properly and not do what they call a greaser. So tonight, hopefully, I'll be able to demonstrate that to you, and if not, I'll practice some more, and we'll relinquish this with another tutorial. So my goal is to do this flight a few times. Not tonight, but once just tonight. But I will be following up with a tutorial video of this particular flight from Philly to New York in such a way that we'll do both an ILS and a RNAV approach. So I see lots of chatter on the chat, so I'm glad to have everybody with me tonight. I'm flying the Zibbo mod. We're going to be going from Philadelphia to New York, about 1,100 feet. And in the description of the live stream, I posted the details in case you want to follow along with me. So let's get this baby up. So let's have a look at the bottom. Let's get some lights going on. It's starting to get dark. So the first thing I wanted to show everybody is I haven't done a night flight in a while, so I want to make sure that you guys know how to take care of that. So we'll go ahead and increase the background brightness, also some of the text brightness, and that just covers the mode control panel here and this particular display. We can still see that it's quite dark here where all our nav radios are. So eventually, whenever I find that particular knob somewhere buried in here, I will adjust that too. So let's have a look. I probably should turn on the pilot light, but I'm going to be difficult and see if I can figure it out myself. Alright, so let's do that. So if we go up here to view, we can turn on the aviation flashlight, and then hopefully we'll be able to see where our knob is to turn up the brightness. And I'm not seeing it now. I don't know why. Maybe, oh, it's down here. There we go. It's out of my camera view. So there we go. We'll turn that guy up a little bit. We'll turn that guy up a little bit. And we'll go back to view and turn off the aviation flashlight. There we go. We're going to do the same for up top. So this one is right up here. And if you really are in the dark and you want to see it really bright, if you scroll way the heck up here and turn your dome light on, you can see how it made a huge adjustment there. Again, we'll just keep it to off for now. It's too bright. Okay, so let's jump to the flight management computer and set up our flight. But before I do, I just want to check in with everybody. Can everybody hear me all right? Is my voice clear and legible? Is the engine overtaking my voice? Give me some indication if I need to adjust one or the other, and I'll start up with our flight plan right after that. I'm going to just type it in the chat too in case people are having problems. Alright, so I'm just asking everybody, how's the audio? Let me know, and I just want to make sure you guys can hear me correctly before I start giving some instruction here. Thanks, Paul. Okay, so I'll go ahead and keep going. So the flight management computer is on the screen. Let's go ahead and click FMC. The first thing we'll select is the position init button here, or R6 at the very bottom right. And we'll set up our reference airport. So this is going to be Philadelphia. So Kilo, Papa, Hotel, Lima. And we'll pop that into the reference airport here. Now we'll go over to route. And we'll do the same for origin. And our destination is going to be Kilo, Juliet, Foxtrot, Kilo. And I messed this up a couple times and I ended up putting X-ray here, so make sure that it's Kilo, Juliet, Foxtrot, Kilo for KJFK. We'll be taking off today from runway 09. There we go. I don't know why it says it's not in the database. Maybe we'll just try 9. All right, well, that's not a mandatory field, so we'll just leave it blank and move on to perf init. All right, so the Zibbo mod has some pretty cool features here that saves us some work, and I'll show you what those are in a second. So the first thing we'll do is set our flight altitude today. We're going to be flying at 11,000 feet. So we'll pop that into R1 at the top right. For our reserves, I'm just going to put 0. And for cost index, 20. And again, just a reminder, cost index is something the airlines use to essentially determine the rate of ascent and descent to save fuel. So 20 to 50 is kind of the range for a 737. Now, on a normal aircraft, you would have to figure out your 0 fuel weight and also this particular ground weight. But on the Zibbo aircraft, you just click the button and it does it all for you. So magic. And we'll hit execute. We'll move on to our N1 limit here. And this is asking for the temperature outside. So if we look up here, we can see it's plus 15 degrees Celsius. Now again, Zibbo mod just knows that automatically, so I just click the button and it automatically fills it in. But I wanted to show you where to look in case you needed to figure out that at some point. The other information on the screen is really only if you have a short runway, so we're okay for this particular scenario. So let's go to the takeoff. We'll fly out with flaps at 5 degrees, so we'll select that. And now to the right hand side, we're being provided our V1, VR, and V2 speeds. So let's lock those in. And these are important to note. So essentially what this means is at VR, or V-rotate, we're going to pull up on the aircraft and start taking off. And V2 would be the safe speed if we lost one engine. So let's go ahead and take the figure 119. And let's go into the mode control panel here. And we'll put in 119. And you can add a little bit more in here if you want. So if you we're technically going to add some more fuel later, so we could add a little bit more speed, but that should be good enough. Okay, so now let's go ahead to our departure. We're departing from runway, it was 09 left. So we're departing from 09 left. We'll go back to departure and arrivals, select arrivals, and we're going to be flying into runway 31 Lima, but we're going to be doing an RNAV approach today. So somewhere in here is that particular one. So RNAVZ 31 Lima, if we were to select the Y, it would only give us the lateral, so the left and right. So since we also wanted to do our glide slope, we'll select the Z, and that's good. We'll now go into the route and go to next page. And let's go to route here, activate that. Now we'll go to the next page and let's go in and type in DAVYS, DAVYS, and plug that in here. And then we want to go to LAURN, LAURN, and plug that in. Cool. There's some junk in here, discontinuity, we'll fix that in a second. So we'll go to legs here, and there's that particular discontinuity. We'll select the route right after, and we'll select the one in front and go execute. Hey Felix, glad you came out and said hi. It shouldn't be too long of a flight. We'll be here for about an hour today, so understand if you got to get some sleep. That's all good. So we're all set up. If we go here to climb, we can see that it'll take us about 21 nautical miles to get to our 11,000 feet. So I like to kind of use these mode buttons. So when we're climbing, I press climb, and it'll automatically switch to cruise when we're basically at our top of climb. And then when we get to descent mode, we'll select the DES button. It'll actually do it automatically, but that's my preferred approach. But then on the right-hand side, on the first officer's flight management computer, I like to see the legs so I can actually see what's going on, or sometimes even the program here to kind of see I'm going from runway 09 left to DAVYS and so on. So it depends on which particular one you like to see you can use. We'll go back to the mode control panel here and we'll set the altitude to our 11,000 feet. Away we go. Let's go up top and set our cabin pressure to 11,000 feet so we don't get blackouts. And let's turn on some of our lights and get ready to taxi.
For departure.
Turn on our landing lights, runway lights, or taxi lights. We're taking off from runway 09 left, so let's go and set a heading of 090. There we go. And let's get a pushback going here. I guess we probably don't have to, but let's have a look. So we'll go to a plugin called Airport Visual System. We can see the airport that we're in right now, and we're taking off from, I know I said runway 09 left, so that's over here. So we could basically we can go over here to the taxi mode, and I can select this and accept. And now basically I have a way to get to the particular runway that I'm supposed to get to. And just for fun and games, let's go ahead and do a pushback. So let's go here and look at our tablet. We'll go over here to ground services and better pushback. Hey Joseph, 5x5. I hope you guys are enjoying your time here. We're going to do a pushback request.
Cockpit. Please show me where you want to go.
And this is another plugin. It's called Better Pushback. I like it because you can actually draw on the screen where you want your plane to go. So I'm just going to say I would like my plane to go right, let's go right to the taxiway here. And we'll press enter. Takes a little minute or two to figure itself out. Looks like it hangs.
Found a cockpit. Tow is driving up.
But it works. So there we go. There's our tow. Let's have a look from the outside. Alright, well while the tow is coming, let's set up our fuel for this flight. So we're going to go to the home screen, fuel weight and balance, and our fuel, we'll put in 5.5 kilos of fuel, which should be more than enough to get us to our destination today. And we'll go to the home screen and check out to see what's going on with our better pushback. There we go. We're just waiting for instructions from the ground crew to disconnect our parking brake.
All doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
There we go. Looks like we're almost set up here. And very soon we should be given instructions to remove our parking brake, so we'll wait for that.
Tow connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Okay, so let's take off the parking brake here.
Starting pushback.
All right, let's have a look.
Hey, quit blinding me with your landing lights. Turn them off.
Apparently they don't like the landing lights, so let's go ahead and turn them off. Hilarious. Had no idea if that was a thing. So apparently you can blind the pushback crew with your landing lights, so don't do that. So hey Joseph, that's awesome. I'm from Ottawa, Canada, so not too far from New York. Love to go there sometime and check out all the scenery. So probably in the next couple of years I might actually go there myself. Why I picked this particular airport, to believe it or not, whenever I loaded up X-Plane, it said on the loading screen that the 2 big map updates that had the most new objects in X-Plane 11 were Washington and JFK, so I figured I'd try them out. Yeah, Ricky, that's hilarious. I can't believe that they had that built in, so that's pretty cool. So apparently, they don't like wearing sunglasses at nighttime. So we're getting a pushback here. We could have probably snuck out, but let's follow the proper procedures. I'm using a plugin called Airport Visual System, and what it lets you do is have a visual layout of the particular runways so you don't get lost. If you were flying on VATSIM or something like that, where basically you need to follow orders of which taxiway and things like that to go on, then Airport Visual System will help you achieve that by mapping out the taxiways. So not so necessary if you're just flying by yourself, or if you're starting on the runway directly in X-Plane, but if you want to simulate the real world environment, it's a cool particular way to do that. It's about $20 on the X-Plane store, so well worth it in my mind. So a few seconds we'll be disconnecting from our tow and turning on the landing lights so we can proceed forward. All right. Should be instructed.
Operation complete. Go ahead and set the parking brake.
All right. Turn on our parking brakes.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Just waiting for the signal for the disconnect. Should come up in a second, and we are good to go. Well, hopefully I avoid the thunderstorm here. Alright, there we go. Let's give him the hand signal and say, goodbye, Mr. Tow. It was nice knowing you. Get out of my way. How dare you insult me, telling me I had to turn off my landing lights. So let's go and turn them on now. Landing lights, landing lights. The taxi lights are already on. Strobe is on. We're good to go.
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the left. We'll see you next time and have fun up there.
Alright, goodbye, Mr. Tow. Let's go ahead and set our flaps down to 5. So you can see down here, if I can zoom in properly, our flaps are on their way down to 5. There we go. Let's get rolling, folks. We will put on some thrust. And I'll point out something that I just discovered recently myself. So I was always looking to the left-hand side here where the glass screen is, and you can see it says 45. And I was thinking, okay, that means we're below 45 nautical miles. But that is actually just airspeed. And if you want to know what your ground speed is, right over here where my mouse is, I'll zoom in here. You can see it's 11. If I go a little faster now, it's 12. That's our ground speed. So if you want to know what you're doing on the ground, that is how you figure that out. Okay, so let's switch on our flight director, our auto throttle, first officer, flight director. And we're moseying on, moseying on. So you're right, let's turn on the RTO. Alright, we're about to turn on to the taxiway. Again, see, this is what, maybe if you're a pro at looking at where the runways are, this might be cool, but for us non-pros that are just trying to figure out the stuff, having this airport visual system is a huge help. So away we go. We're getting ready to get on to runway 09 left. Doing a night flight. We'll crank up some lights in a minute, folks. There is 09 left. We're getting ready. Everybody with me? You sleeping? Are you guys excited? I'm excited to start creating some new tutorials soon. Some really crisp and clear tutorials. A lot slower than the live stream. The live stream is much faster and we're having a little more fun and we're not taking it as serious. But I plan to repeat this flight. So I really want people to learn. So my next video will be this exact flight. An ILS approach, a non-ILS approach with an RNAV until we get it down straight. Alright, we're lined up on the runway. We're on 09 Lima. Everything is set. Let's have a quick look. Our altitude is set to 11,000. Our heading is set to 090. Our speed is set to 119, which is exactly what it said we needed to be at. If we want to check, we can go here. Let's have a look at what it says again. If the view will stop acting up. And it says 133. So when we added the fuel, sorry, 119. So when we added the fuel, we're still okay with 119. Actually, sorry, I have to click it again to set it. So from 119 to 121. So let's set in these new speeds. We added a bit more fuel, and let's set that to 121. So there's a little trick. You can, when you add fuel, you got to check that. Let's look outside the aircraft. I'm not quite straight. We'll fix that in a minute. Lights, everything look good. Flaps look good. Alright, what we're going to do, folks, is there's a little button right here on the thrusters called a TOGA button. Takeoff, go around button. Right here, we could click it with the mouse. I happen to have a button on my keyboard for that. So I'll be using that. So I'm going to remove the brakes, add a bit of thrust, just to make sure. And let's press the takeoff, go around button. And away we go. We are on our way to JFK Airport from Philly. Short flight, almost at 80 knots.
80 knots. V1 rotate.
Rotate, let's pull back. There we go.
Positive rate.
Positive rate, landing gear goes up. 400 feet. Let's go up a flap. Flaps 2.
1,000.
1,000. Let's go up a flap to flaps 1. And 1,500. Let's go up another flaps. We'll go here, activate the vertical navigation, the lateral navigation, and Command A for autopilot. So essentially now the autopilot is in control. The plane's essentially flying itself. We're going to go up to 11,000 feet. So let's have a look at how that looks. So we're in climb mode here, you can see. CLB. It's plus 14 outside. Our engines are at 92%. Over here, we're on our way to the DAVYS waypoint. We're 13.5 nautical miles away. And we're leaving at a track of 093. We're following the magenta line, so that means we're on course. Our airspeed is climbing to a 250, which is essentially just below the legal speed, below 10,000 feet. And we're climbing altitude, so we're almost at 5,000 feet, on our way to 11,000 feet. Let's have a look at the flight management computer. It says we're about 11 nautical miles away from our top climb, or 10. We're going from runway on the right hand side, our first officer's flight management computer. We're going from runway 09 left up to DAVYS, and we'll have 5 kilograms of fuel by the time we're done with that. By the time we get to LAURN, we'll have 4.6 kilograms of fuel. So again, really depends on what you're interested in. And we're looking at 7 nautical miles for our top climb. So let's go ahead. Things look good. Turn off the taxi. Turn off the landing light. So again, see how this is really hard to see? So maybe this is okay for you, but it's kind of hard. If you scroll all the way up to the top where it says dome white light, if you turn that on, life gets much easier to see. So now we can go back down here and turn off our landing lights. Our taxi lights are off, and the rest will keep. So again, really personal choice. I guess at nighttime you don't want too much brightness on your eyes, making it difficult to see. So that's a choice for you to make. Let's look at here.
1,000 to go.
We can see that we're almost at the top of climb, and we're less than 500 feet away from top of climb, which is basically 11,000 feet for us today. I can hear the flight crew announce to the inside passengers that it's almost time for tea and coffee, so that's good. And we're about to make our left-hand turn to our LAURN waypoint as we approach the DAVYS waypoint here. Let's have a look at the AV tab. We'll select on the map feature and zoom out to 8. That will give us an indication once it loads of whereabouts we are in proportion to where we're going. So again, if you have the Zibo mod aircraft, the AV tab component comes built in. This is one of the many features of that. You can see New York is just over here. We're going to be flying over here on the coastline, making a left, and then flying into runway 31 Lima, doing what's called a RNAVZ approach. So that'll be using GPS versus an ILS approach. If we went to home and then we went over here back to AV tab and went to airports, you could type in your airport code like I already have here, Kilo Juliet Foxtrot Kilo, and you can get all the information from your runway. So if we were doing an ILS approach to 31 left, we would tie our NAV1 radio to 111.35, and we would set up a course to 314 degrees. So again, we're not doing an ILS approach, but if you were, this is just a heads up for you to be able to have that information. We can also look here at the fuel again and see we're at 4.9 kilos. We started the flight with 5.5 kilos. So if we're getting scared, we can look at the flight management computer, and on the right hand side we have the progress set up. We can see that we're going to get to the JFK airport here with 4.4 kilograms of fuel, more than sufficient for a whoopsie if we have to do a go around, or as one of the viewers mentioned that there's a storm brewing in New York. So I can't remember if I have the weather set to realistic or not, but if we end up brewing and have to go to Boston or alternate airports, we still got enough fuel essentially, so that's great. And we can see over here we're 39 nautical miles away from our top of descent, and I'll explain that when we get a little closer. I don't want to confuse you yet. So let's enjoy a little bit of scenery while we approach our top of descent. So we're back 38 nautical miles away from LAURN. So while I have a little bit of flying to do before we have to go over our approach procedures, any questions in the chat? Are you guys excited to start seeing some live streams? Would you prefer more live streams and less tutorials? Would you prefer more tutorials or live streams? Let me know in the chat what you prefer. I'm looking at maybe also doing some streams on Twitch, but right now I think I got enough on my plate, so we'll stick with YouTube. I'd like to hear some positive and or negative feedback in the chat of what you guys like to see, and if there's anything I can change, whether it's volume levels of the engine, whether it's my voice, if the microphone settings are not good. I'd like to hear from you as to what I should improve, because that's ultimately what I'm doing this for, you guys, to be able to improve the quality. I like this flight because it's about 40 minutes long, 45 minutes long, so it'll be perfect for doing a tutorial on ILS versus RNAV at a little slower pace. So this way it'll be a short enough video that you guys will be able to follow. And I'm also hoping to, for the next set of tutorials, have some visuals that go with it. So whenever I first start the tutorial, I'll have some images on the screen that have all the details you need to program into the FMC. So you can essentially pause the video, write down all the information, and then follow along with me. So glad to hear, Frank, Franick, that you'd like to see both some streams and tutorials, and stay away from Twitch and on YouTube. So that's probably what I'm going to do. And Joseph, I think what I'm going to try to do is do a stream Friday, where maybe I'll schedule it so this way it's not a surprise. So if you guys have some ideas of flights that you'd like to see, would you like to see maybe a longer flight, a shorter flight? Let me know. Maybe we'll fire up some VATSIM flights and do some real kind of live air traffic control flights. So you let me know, and we'll go from there. That's awesome. Yeah, well, sometimes you need a little break from work, and you know, you got to check out some cool stuff. So I'll probably be landing here in the next 15 minutes. So hopefully that you know, cuts within your break time at work. So we are 23 nautical miles away from LAURN. Let's have a look at the map. So we can see we went on a jetway here. So we left Philadelphia. We're on this jetway here, and we're on the, I think it's, if I can scroll a little bit here, it's not going to show me, of course, V157 jetway. We're flying up there. There we are. There is JFK Airport, and these would be your runway 09s here. To the right hand side is our 31 right. We're going to be flying at the 31 left just over here, but we're not doing an ILS approach. We're going to be doing a RNAV approach. So here we are. We're going to be coming in over the coast over like this. We're going to be making a left-hand turn and then coming back, landing in on runway 31 Lima. Again, in the tutorial I'll do to speed things up, I might land in at runway 09 because it might be a little bit quicker. But for there, you know, that'd be cool. Thanks, Franick. Yeah, so I'm trying to find flights that are about 100 nautical miles. That makes for about a 45 to an hour, 45 minute to an hour flight, which I think, you know, there's enough stuff going on takeoff, landing, and preparing to keep everybody entertained, where, say, a couple hour flight, it gets boring quick. So let's show you another feature here. For those of you that don't know, you might be wondering, well, I can't really see what's going on. Where's the top of descent on the screen? So there is an option here, right here, where you can see 10, 20, 40, 80, 160, 320, and 640, and that's how many nautical miles ahead you want to see. So right now it's set to 10. So if we look here, the top of descent is actually 9, so we're just starting to see it now. But if I went here and said 20, you can see now I see more of our particular flight plan. Let's say I go here to 40. It gets a little more crazy in detail, but you can see I'm actually going to here make a right, then I'm going to make a left, and I'm going to come into runway 31 Lima. So again, if you're like, what's going on? I just want to know what's going on. You can zoom in a lot or far. My preference is basically about 10 nautical miles there. You can see here 2, 5, 10. So I like to have 10. Top of descent. It's very important now. We got to act quick. We got to change our MCP altitude down to 0. So I went over here to altitude ahead of the top of descent and set that down to 0. If you don't do that, you will not descend. So the plane leaves the pilot in command, making sure that you descend when you want to descend. So if maybe there was a minimum that you had to fly to, maybe you would say above 5,000, you could set this to 5,000. In our case, the flight management computer knows all the minimums already because all the flight plans are built right into the flight management computer. So I don't have to worry about at this particular waypoint, plug the altitude into that and so on. It's all there for me. So again, when we reach the top of descent here in a few seconds, we just hit it now. You can see our flight management computer change to descent mode. and we're going to be at above 2,000 feet at the Zax waypoint, doing 210 nautical miles for speed. All the information's on the screen. We're now going at a minus 1,200 feet per minute on our way down to 2,000. We can see our speed decreasing over here. The magenta arrow shows us what we want to be, which is 240. And we can see that we're going down here to that magenta line, which is 2,000. And we can see on the screen we're making our right-hand turn on the way. So again, that is what's happening. If you didn't set that altitude down to 0, you would not be descending right now, so that's something to be aware of. So in a few minutes, we'll start our procedures for the approach. So let's have a look at our map again. So we followed the jetway. Now we're taking off over here. We'll end up somewhere around here. Looks like there's an aircraft carrier. I won't attempt to land on that, but that'll be a cool stream one day. Jason's attempt to land a Boeing on an aircraft carrier. I don't think it'll work out so well, but we can try it one day. So again, we're going to come up here, circle back, and then fly in here to runway 31 Lima. So a few things that we have to prepare for landing. We're not quite there yet, but what we can do is set our heading to 310, because essentially runway 31 is, you add a 0 at the end, so 310. If I can get this right. 310 is our heading. And we don't have to worry about going down here and setting our NAV1 frequencies or NAV2 frequencies, because we're not using ILS. We are using something called RNAV today, so none of this is required. And if we go over here to the legs, you can see all the flight levels are here. So this is 2,000, this is 1,800, this is 500, and so on. So all our flight configuration was already done for us by our flight management computer. So the last few videos that I did, the landings were a little rough. I read a couple things on the X-Plane forums. I had a few people email me, and I finally figured it out. So I think we're going to have a beautiful landing. And I'll share some links that I watched to other people's videos for Prepared MD and Airbus. It has it's not X-Plane and it's not a Boeing, but the principles are the same, and that is what I use. So essentially, to recap, because we got some time, when we get down to about 100 to 200 feet, I'm going to turn off the auto throttle, and I'm going to turn off the Command A button and autopilot. We're going to then flare, and I'm going to pull back on the accelerator or the throttle, and then what will happen is the plane's nose will kind of go up, create a drag, and we'll touch down on the runway almost perfectly. Once we touch down on the runway, we're going to activate the speed brakes. We're going to activate what's called reverse thrust, and we'll mosey on into the gate at JFK if all goes well. So we still got 12 nautical miles, so we still got some time to set some stuff up. So let's have a look at our auto brakes. There's 4 different levels, 1, 2, 3, and max. On a real particular setup, you would not use max, and if you had max, you would actually have to push in on the lever and then, pull out on the lever and turn to a max. But on the simulator, you can just turn it. And what this is how much pressure to put on the brakes based on the runway length. So if you had a really short runway, you'd want to crank that up to 3 or even maybe max. We got lots of runway, so we're just going to set it to 2. So what will happen is once we land and the weight of the aircraft goes onto the nose, the nose part of the aircraft, it'll automatically start the auto brakes and engage basically the speed brake for me. And for those of you that are wondering what the heck a speed brake is, there's a lever right here. We can actually engage it now. So if I engage it, we can't quite see because it's nighttime, But there we go. That is a speed brake. So if I turn it off, they go down. If I turn it on, they go up. So essentially what the speed brake does, and I can see over here, there's you can see when the speed brake is armed. Right there, it's a speed brake armed. And if I pull back on the lever, it's not armed. So a speed brake is it's just basically a way to add a little bit of drag to the aircraft so that basically you can slow down a little bit. All right, folks, ladies and gents, we are getting ready. Let's tell our passengers to get ready. Let's go to the PA system. Let's tell people to prepare for landing.
Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for landing.
Ladies and gentlemen, in preparation for landing, we turn the seatbelt sign on. Flight attendants will be collecting any remaining service items that you would like to discard. As part of our EcoSkies program, we're committed to recycling aluminum, plastic, and paper, and we'll be coming around to collect these items. Please make sure all carry-on items have been securely stowed either under the seat in front of you or in an overhead compartment. As a reminder, please make sure your personal belongings are clear of the aisle. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help you get ready for landing. You may continue to use your small, lightweight electronic devices, but they must be unplugged from the outlet, set to airplane mode, and secured. As a reminder, carry-on items should be securely stowed either under the seat in front of you or in an overhead compartment. Please make sure your seatbelts are fastened, seat backs and tray tables are upright, headrests are lowered, and footrests and video monitors are stowed. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for arrival and be seated.
All right, let's turn on our landing lights, our taxi lights. Let's go ahead and drop our gears. We're going to go to the flight management computer and click on init ref, and we're going to select our approach speed. So we're going to select an approach speed of 30-degree flaps with 131. So we activate that. And let's go down to 5 flaps. Alright, so we're lining up with the runway. Our landing gear is down. Our flaps are set to 5. We've went into the flight management computer and set our approach to be flaps 30, and our speed. So right now we're at flaps 5, and as we get a little closer, we're going to continue to increase the flaps. So right now our speed is 160 knots, so let's go to flaps 10. Give the plane a few seconds to catch up on the speed. Flaps 15. Just checking in. Everybody hear me? Y'all awake? You ready? We're about to do this, guys. We're landing. Our auto brakes are set up. Our flaps are almost down to 30. Our landing gear is down. We're good to go. Things are coming. I hope everybody's ready. I want everyone to pay attention to this screen here. See how it just said LNAV, VNAV. Right there, that means that it intercepted the particular RNAV approach here. So in a second there, that'll activate and turn red. And you'll see here, just like an ILS approach, we got our diamonds here, and we're actually a bit high, so it'll catch up in a minute once it turns. But in a few minutes, you're going to see the diamond for our glide slope come up to the middle, and you're going to see our diamond for our localizer come up to the middle, and then you'll see this turn red and activate, so we know we're on the right approach. So here we go, we're turning in any second now. Let's go ahead and set our flaps down to 30. So we can see here the flaps going down to 30. Our speed's coming down.
2,500.
And away we go. We're on our way. So again, when I get down to about 200 feet, I will basically disengage the autopilot, disengage the auto thrust, lower the throttle down to idle, and then activate speed brakes and reverse thrust. Let's go ahead and fire up Airport Visual System so we know where we're going. KJFK. There we go. Let's set up our destination. KJFK. Enter. There we go. We're coming in the runway 31 left, so we're coming in here. (1,400 feet). Are you ready? Speed looks good, 131 knots, running into runway 31 Lima, almost at 1,000 feet. Intercepted the glide slope.
1,000.
1,000 feet, stabilized, Mr. Perch, altitude set.
It's time to land this bird. Can I implement what I just learned in a couple other videos? We will see. And if I land this properly, it's tutorial time. I'll be ready to repeat this flight in slow mode and basically highlight the sections of the screen that I clicked so everyone can see. 600 feet. Looking good. Flaps right. Landing gear down. Lights are activated.
500.
Here we go. Thanks, Ricky. I need the luck charm.
400.
400 feet. Going to be disactivating the autopilot soon.
300.
Here we go.
200.
Can't quite see the touchdown point, so let's just wait here. There we go. All right.
100.
Disactivating auto throttle, turning off the warnings, disactivating the
50.
autopilot.
40.
50, 40.
30.
Setting engines down to idle.
10.
There we go. Setting up speed brake and reverse thrust. There we go, folks. All right. That worked out pretty well. So so basically that's the trick basically that I learned here. Is that hey Aldeiro, I was looking for your Columbia 400. I couldn't find that in my default X plane. So is there do I have to download that plane? If you can post in the chat where I get that particular plane, I will definitely try to fly the Columbia. But I could not find the Columbia. I found a Beechcraft, a Baron, the Cessna glass cockpit, but could not find the Columbia 400. So if you can find me the plane and where to download it, I would love to create such a video. So folks, what I learned was that basically my mistake was that when I let Zibbo fly the aircraft, by default the plane lands and the auto throttle was still engaged. And the problem is that when the auto throttle is engaged, you can't basically, if you put the thrust back down to the minimum or the idle position, it still won't do anything. Essentially, you actually still have to disengage the auto throttle and the autopilot. So for those of you watching out there struggling with landings, again, I'll repeat the trick. When you get down to the runway section and you're about 100 feet away and you can see the touchdown point, then what you do is disengage the auto throttle, disengage the autopilot, and then essentially what you do is fly in the last 100 feet manually. You take your throttle and put it all the way down to the bottom, and then you should have a beautiful touchdown where the aircraft will just come down perfectly. And then once you're on the ground and your engines are at idle, you can basically engage what's called reverse thrust and speed brakes. And so now that we're here in the light, I'll show you quickly what that looks like. So if I turn on the reverse thrust here, you can see it open up like this. And that's basically what reverse thrust looks like. And this is what the speed brakes look like. So essentially there, that is what you want to be able to do. So here, I'll tell you what I'll do, Eldero. I'm going to go into my planes here so you guys can see. I'm not going to be able to do it tonight, but these are the planes that I have. If you want to point out which one of these are the Columbia 4000, let me know. I don't see a Columbia 4000 unless I have to enable this feature of, oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's why I don't see it. There's a box here that show extra aircraft from old versions of X-Plane. And whenever I check on that box, I can see now the Columbia 400. So that's why I was thinking about you the other day. I think I should do that video. I had no idea where it was. So now I found it by going up here to show extra aircraft from old versions. So I'll be able to do that now by having it there. So another one that I'm going to try to do is I bought this aircraft here. Where is it? I'll show you once I find it. Here, I'm going to hide this for now. I bought the IXEG here aircraft. That was about $100. It was very expensive, but it's very realistic. The only problem is if you're not a real pilot like me, who's just trying to learn, it's not as forgiving. The Zibbo aircraft basically figures out almost all the things in the flight management computer for you. But on this particular one, you need the zero fuel weight, you need the tow, you need basically to be like a real pilot would. So if you really want to be a pilot and you really want to be a real simulator, this is kind of what you're going to do. You're going to go in there and launch this airplane at about $100. So when I get a little more familiar with things, I probably will take that on. So at least now I know where the Columbia is there. I might here, let's just YOW, let's fly out of Ottawa for a second. Let's have a quick look at what this looks like. Let's make it daytime, and let's have a quick look for Eldero, the Columbia 400, and see what it looks like, and then we'll call it a day for tonight. We won't go far. We'll just mess around a little bit and have a look at what it is. I've never seen this aircraft before, so forgive me. But right now we're under an hour, so we got 5 minutes or so to have a look at this. I have solid-state drives for my X-Plane, and it still, I find, takes quite a while to load the scenery in the airport. So I don't know if you guys also encounter this, but it's something that I notice. So I guess this is the Columbia 400. So let's have a quick look around. What do we got here? Left and right, whatever that is. We got some buttons over here. Let's find out if they actually work. They seem to click, but they don't seem to do anything. So maybe this is for fun. Yeah, nothing turns here. The throttle levers seem to work, so that's a good sign. So let's set up my my views here. So first thing I do when I get into a new aircraft is set up a view. So I find the cockpit, and then I press Control and 1 on the keyboard, and that basically memorizes the current view. The next thing I do, I hold Shift and I press 8 till I get basically to the outside of the aircraft like this, and then I go Control 7, and that locks in that particular position. Then I kind of move around over here to the front of the aircraft, like so, and I press Control 9. So now basically I can press 1 on the keyboard to get to the cockpit, I can press 7 on the keyboard to get out of the cockpit, or I can press 9 to get in front. So again, and you can change your views up, so sometimes you'll see me zoom in, so I might actually kind of set up a shot like this, where I zoom in on the particular G1000 displays here. So I might set that to say 3, and now I can kind of bounce around the views as you kind of see really quickly. So for those of you that have default keyboards, I don't know if it works on a Mac, that's a tip. You find your view by holding Shift and pressing one of the number keys at the top. Once you find your view, hold the control button in and press a number on the keypad, and then you can just press basically a button on the keypad to go where you want. So let's have some fun. I am not going to fly this in any way or shape or form in any realistic manner, so hold your negative comments, folks. I'm just going to have a little fun for our folks on here. Joseph, I don't have the FF767. Put a link to it in the chat and I'll have a look at it. Is that a paid aircraft? I'd like to have a look at that. So let's beach up the throttle a little bit. So this kind of behaves like the glass cockpit Cessna a little bit. There we go. So I don't know if this has fixed wings or not. So let's press G and have a look. Nope, so it's got fixed wings, so I don't have to worry about that. And again, I'm not flying for real, folks. We're just farting around, having some fun. So we're in Ottawa. This is my hometown. What we can do is get into the cockpit here, click on this and have a look. It's good. Maybe we'll set up a quick flight to CARP. Not quite sure. CYRP, I think. So if we go here, it's been a while since I've been actually doing the jetliners so much that I actually forget most of the G1000 stuff, and I have to remember it again. So let's have a look. So let's go and look for C like Charlie. There we go. And I think Y. I guess I need to pay attention to flying at the same time. Y. And I think it's R for Romeo. And then I think it's P. There we go, CARP. Let's activate that. Let's go to CARP. CARP is just a small flight, so let's slow down a little bit here. Go, Red Blacks, go! So we're on our way to CARP in the Columbia 400 because one of my viewers wanted to check out the Columbia 400. It's the first time I've ever flown the Columbia 400, and I'm going way too fast for a small prop plane like this. But it is what it is. I told you I'm just trying to see how this works, and I'm just having some fun. So what we can actually do is we can go over here and we can activate the navigation button here and set that up. Turn on the autopilot. So let's go here. I think I have navigation mode. There we go. Take me to CARP, please. I'm not a fan of the my initial G1000 here. I'm not quite a fan of the glass cockpit here. So here, let's also set up, let's get some vertical navigation here. Vertical speed, nose up a little bit. There we go. Let's go here. Nose up, 500. There, we'll go up 500 feet a minute. Nothing fancy. I know I'm rough, folks. I have not flown prop planes for a while. I've been having too much fun with this stuff. Let's set our altitude up to, I don't know. Let's go to altitude here. Altitude. Set that up to go to something nice. Why isn't it working? Let's get some speed going. That's looking good. So we're on our way to CARP. I'm still trying to remember how this works, so please don't yell. It's been a long time since I flew prop planes, so I'll again make some more of these videos soon. So let's see, how do I get the altitude up on this thing? So I select this, maybe? No. Does anybody know? Why is this not working? There should be a option here to set the altitude, and it normally works through this button here, if I recall. So I'm not quite sure why it's not, but if any of you guys know. So here, I'll go vertical speed again, set the nose up to 500. Now does it work? Nope. Well, I'm baffled, folks. Oh, there we go. Sorry. It's at the bottom left. I'm not paying attention. So let's set it to, like, I don't know, 5,000 feet or something like that. I was looking so much on the right-hand side, I didn't pay attention. So, all right, we're going to go up to 5,000 feet. We'll turn on the vertical speed. We'll go nose up to 500 feet per minute. And we're on our way to carp. Let's close this. And let's look around. So we're on our way to carp. We're in the Columbia 400. I was going to shut down the live stream for today, but one of our viewers, Adero, said, let's fly the Columbia 400. So why not? We're in Ottawa, flying to carp, which is not very far away. It says we're about 5 minutes away, to be honest. We're going to go up to about 5,000 feet. I don't think we'll get that far. Thanks, Joseph. I appreciate that. I eventually ended up finding it there, but like I said, it's been a long time. I've been so interested in learning how to fly the auto landing with the Zibbo that I have not done much with the propellers for quite a while. So please excuse me while I remember some of this stuff. Another view that I like to do this is kind of this view. So hey, Sam. Do you play this game for fun, or do you want to become a pilot in the future? Well, I'll tell you, I want to be a pilot, but at the same time, I'm a tech guy. So I manage thousands of computers, and I'm really into tech. And when I looked into becoming a pilot, from what I understand, all the aircraft that I would be able to get at the flight school are really old Cessnas that don't have glass cockpits and don't have these cool toys. So for a tech guy to spend whatever it costs to get your pilot's license, probably I'm making up numbers here, maybe about 10,000 feet. $10,000, and then probably a couple $100 an hour in rental cost to fly. I can have more fun in the simulator playing with glass cockpits and toys like jets and stuff like that. So someday maybe, but probably only whenever I'm able to play with some of the cool toys that a tech person would want to play with, like a glass cockpit. So one day, I think I have not actually gone up and done a real flight before. One day I would love to do that, is essentially go up and do a real flight, not in a simulator, and see how it behaves at the control of the yoke, and see if it behaves way different. Because in the simulator, I do find it's quite hard to see. I did try, there's a Redbird simulator at one of the airports here in Ottawa, so apparently the autopilot just disengaged, so that's fine, we'll fly the rest ourselves. But there is a Redbird simulator at the Aviation Museum here in Ottawa, and you can pay to try that. And I tried that once, not using the approach, basically. Not using the flight school version, but they have like one for fun for the public, and I was able to fly around and land at the Gatineau Rockcliffe Airport and stuff like that, and it was kind of fun. So yep, anyone here a real pilot? I'm more than willing to accept criticism. I'm more than willing to hear what I'm doing wrong, because I'm sure there's a lot of it. But I'm a tech guy, enthusiast, really enjoying X-Plane. Some of the things I'm trying to figure out now is I'm upgrading my computer to a 2080 i and an Intel i9 9900. I'm hoping to do that in the next little while. And one of the things I really want to figure out is how I can record multiple views in X-Plane. So what I want to be able to do is when I do a landing or when I do a tutorial, that basically I'm recording, say, the cockpit, and I'm recording the exterior of the aircraft, and I'm recording, say, the side of the aircraft, and then I can overlay those 3 feeds into my tutorial, so that if you're interested in seeing what's in the cockpit, you can see that, or if you're interested in seeing the wheels touch down, you can see that. So basically, that is kind of what I'm trying to be able to figure out how to do through tech. I saw a couple things online where people were basically created a X-Plane 360 plugin to be able to do that, but I have not yet figured out or seen it in real life and how you're able to do that. So I don't quite know how to do that, but that's something I would like to be able to do. All right, so we're approaching Carp here, and I'm way too fast and way too high, but we'll make it work. I could do a fly around. Yeah, I'll do that. We're not in a rush. We got some time. So let's do a fly around here. There we go. This is Carp. We're going to do a parallel flyby. And yes, I'm not flying by the rules. And I'm not flying by the minimums. And I haven't flown a prop plane for a while. So feel free to point a lot of that stuff out. But at the same time, if you are a pilot and you have advice, I'd be willing to take it. I'm going to put our flaps down to slow down a little bit. And I'm sure some of you go, you put your flaps out too high. Your wings just blew off. So be it. We're having a little fun. Yeah. Another thing I think would be kind of fun for some of us streamers out there is if we were to get on that sim one day and do a fly-in. So we pick an airport and we all fly into the same airport and have a little fun. So we got to speed things up a little bit. Looks like we're approaching our stall speed. And we're flying past the Carp Airport, which is a very small airport near where I live. And the scenery is looking good. So we're at 1,400 feet. Let's drop it down to about 1,000 feet for a turn. Yeah, it'd be fun to fly an aircraft like this, but I find the jets a little funner, and they're out of my price range. So we're just passing the runway. We'll be able to turn around very soon. I was talking to a guy the other day, and they told me that some of the aircraft clubs in Ottawa, they have some charity events where basically you get a bag of rice essentially, and you fly over the airport, and there's targets, and essentially you drop the bag of rice out of your aircraft or have your passenger do it for you, and the closest one to get that bag of rice into the particular ring gets money towards his charity, if you will, or his or her charity. So that was kind of a cool thing. That'd be fun to do. So we'll turn around in a few seconds here and attempt to do a landing. We'll go a little bit further. Don't want to make a sharp turn. Thanks to everybody here. It's been an hour and 10 minutes. There's 11 people watching right now, and I think a lot more people checked in and out throughout the duration of the stream. So again, thanks to everybody for watching. I hope you guys subscribe to my channel. I've added a couple features. You can monetize the channel. You can actually become a paid member. You can actually do what's called a super chat. I do this for fun, so I'm not really concerned about money or worrying about that. I just really enjoy flying, and I'm hoping that people will essentially chime in on the chat and tell me what I'm doing right or wrong, and I'll actually learn a lot more from this. So we all help each other in the community there. Hey, Noah, how you doing? All right, we are going to attempt to land a carp if I can find the airport or the runway again. There it is. So a very rough landing because this is an unpracticed event, but it'll work out. We're landing at the Carp Airport. And then we'll call it a night for tonight after our landing there. At least this way I got to try out the Columbia 300 or 400, sorry. And I'm approaching the angle way too steep for a proper approach, but we'll survive. I was trying to be real with the jet. This one we're going to have a little fun. Thanks, Noah. We just finished a flight from Philadelphia to JFK using a Boeing 737-800, and one of the viewers said, let's try the Columbia 400, so we're doing that. And we're down, folks. We have landed in Carp. Not a pretty landing by any means, but a landing nonetheless. Thanks, Joseph. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. I hope you enjoyed the stream tonight. I'm going to call it for tonight. I'm glad you guys came out. I'm looking for your feedback, audio, visual. Was the graphics okay? Does it need to be turned up? Is the volume of the engines too loud? Is the volume of my voice too loud, too soft? Let me know. I'm almost ready to start creating more tutorials, and I want to make sure my setup's perfect. I probably won't do another live stream until I do the tutorial, so you'll probably see between now and the Sunday a tutorial of our flight that we just did earlier from Philadelphia to JFK. So have a great night. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Randy, Joseph, Noah, Sam, Frank, have a good night, and we'll chat, and I'll probably do another live stream on Sunday or something like that. So thanks again, and have a great night.